Rain smashed against the dying farmhouse roof while Marcus Reed tightened the broken window with shaking frozen hands, alone tonight. Thunder exploded across empty farmland as the stranger appeared silently beside the muddy road, wearing a soaked gray coat and torn gloves. Marcus stared carefully from the doorway, because nobody ever crossed these abandoned fields after midnight storms destroyed nearby bridges. The old woman spoke softly through trembling breaths, asking only for warmth, while lightning flashed across her strangely calm eyes. Every neighbor warned Marcus never to trust travelers, because desperate storms often carried dangerous criminals hiding from the law nearby. Still, Marcus opened the fragile wooden door slowly, though deep fear twisted heavily inside his chest with every passing second. The woman entered silently beside the weak fireplace, while water dripped across the floorboards like dark blood beneath dim lantern light. Marcus noticed expensive polished shoes hidden beneath the mud, but the woman quickly pushed them deeper under her soaked coat, silently. Outside, distant headlights suddenly appeared beyond the farmland, and powerful black vehicles crawled slowly through the storm toward the house. Marcus felt cold terror rise inside him, because poor forgotten farmers were never visited by strangers driving expensive cars after midnight. Marcus quietly reached for the rusty hunting rifle hidden beneath the table, while the black vehicles stopped beyond the flooded cornfield outside. The old woman remained strangely calm near the fireplace, warming her hands slowly as if the approaching danger did not concern her. Heavy footsteps echoed across the soaked porch, while violent knocking shook the fragile farmhouse door, hard enough to crack old wood apart. A deep voice shouted through the storm, demanding the woman come outside immediately, before innocent people inside the farmhouse suffered consequences tonight. Marcus froze beside the lantern, because nobody had ever called his broken farmhouse important enough to threaten before this terrifying moment. The old woman whispered carefully for Marcus not to open the door, yet she refused to explain why armed men wanted her badly. Another thunderblast rattled the windows while dark figures surrounded the farmhouse completely, their flashlights slicing through endless rain outside. Marcus finally noticed the woman's trembling hands were not fearful at all, because she was secretly hiding something far more dangerous instead. One flashlight beam crossed her face suddenly, and Marcus saw a deep, fresh scar running beneath her silver hair near her neck. Before Marcus could question anything further, the farmhouse lights died instantly, and the entire property disappeared into suffocating darkness outside. Dark silence swallowed the farmhouse, while rain pounded harder above them, and Marcus heard boots circling slowly around the weak wooden walls. Marcus loaded the rusty rifle carefully, but the old woman suddenly grabbed the barrel gently and ordered him not to fire tonight. Her calm voice felt disturbingly powerful now, completely different from the weak traveler who begged for shelter only hours earlier inside. A violent crash exploded near the kitchen window as masked men forced their way into the farmhouse, carrying bright tactical flashlights everywhere. Marcus stepped forward instantly to protect the woman, though fear burned heavily inside him because he had never faced armed intruders before. One masked man suddenly froze after seeing the old woman clearly, then lowered his weapon with visible shock spreading across his pale face. The intruder whispered her name nervously into his earpiece, and every other man inside the farmhouse immediately backed away without explanation afterward. Marcus watched carefully as the old woman stood taller beside the fireplace, her exhausted posture suddenly replaced by cold, commanding authority tonight. She ordered the armed men outside with one quiet sentence, and unbelievably, every dangerous stranger obeyed her without hesitation or resistance whatsoever. Before leaving, one masked guard looked directly at Marcus and whispered softly, "You have no idea who you just protected tonight." Marcus stood speechless beside the fireplace while the armed vehicles disappeared slowly into the storm beyond the drowning farmland, tonight, silently. The old woman removed her soaked gloves carefully, revealing expensive diamond rings Marcus could never imagine touching in his entire lifetime before. She finally admitted her real name was Eleanor Voss, yet Marcus still failed to understand why powerful armed men feared her completely. Eleanor explained quietly that she secretly owned one of the largest financial empires in the country, hidden beneath fake public identities worldwide. For months, corrupt executives inside her billion-dollar company had hunted her secretly after she uncovered massive theft, destroying poor farming communities everywhere. Marcus felt sick hearing the truth because those same corporations had stolen nearby farms, forcing desperate families to abandon their lands forever. Eleanor revealed she disguised herself as a homeless traveler to discover whether honest people still existed beyond the greed-poisoning, wealthy society. Marcus lowered his eyes with shame because he offered shelter only from kindness, never knowing his tiny farmhouse hid unimaginable secrets tonight. Suddenly, another convoy of black vehicles arrived outside, but this time armed security guards stepped out respectfully instead of threatening violence before. The lead guard entered quietly, then bowed his head toward Eleanor and whispered, "Madam, the board members have all confessed everything." Marcus watched silently as Eleanor stepped outside beneath the storm, surrounded now by loyal guards protecting her like a powerful queen tonight. The broken farmland suddenly filled with flashing lights because reporters, police officers, and company investigators arrived together behind the massive convoy vehicles. Eleanor exposed every corrupt executive publicly, revealing stolen money meant for struggling farmers who lost homes, crops, and entire generations, recently forever. Marcus stood far behind the cameras uncomfortably, still wearing muddy boots, while wealthy officials stared at him with awkward, guilty silence afterward. Then Eleanor shocked everyone by announcing Marcus saved her life, when greed and betrayal nearly destroyed the last trust remaining inside her heart. The crowd gasped louder when Eleanor transferred millions of dollars toward rebuilding forgotten farms, placing Marcus in charge of the entire project himself. Tears filled Marcus's tired eyes because one stormy night of kindness changed the fate of countless poor families suffering across the countryside forever. Weeks later, green crops finally returned across abandoned lands, while desperate farmers slowly rebuilt homes once destroyed by corruption and endless poverty there. Marcus kept living inside the same humble farmhouse because he believed honest hearts mattered more than wealth, power, or expensive luxury ever could. True greatness hides inside kindness during humanity's darkest storms, because one selfless act can rescue lives, truth, and forgotten hope forever. Subscribe for more emotional suspense stories filled with shocking twists, hidden truths, and unforgettable endings every single week.